Hey there, it's Seb Frey here with another exciting episode of Seb Frey TV. And today I'm coming at you from an abandoned, derelict, nasty house in Watsonville, California. It's actually a foreclosure property and just came on the market yesterday, checking it out for some clients. And funny thing is I door knocked this house about 3 years ago because the homeowner was behind on their payments and they were gonna, get foreclosed on or whatever. And I was like, hey, are you guys gonna sell your property, or we can do a short sale and not have you get foreclosed on? They're like, no, don't worry about it. We got it under control. Well, here we are 3 years later or whatever, and it's under control because now the bank owns it. So, but listen, I wanted to get something off my chest and has nothing to do with this house really, but I feel this house is like a good environment to talk about this because something crappy happened. Something crappy happened here in this house, someone's life went off the rails and someone else's life is going off the rails in Pleasanton or something, and it's a contractor, a guy who was working on my house. We had a leak and we had some problems with the house, and we needed to have some water damage and mold remediated, and we hired this company to do it, and they were going to get paid through our insurance company. In the course of that remediation, they put a hole in the exterior wall of our house. They put a hammer through this stucco, and now there's a hammer-sized hole in our exterior wall. And we have a contractor who's rebuilding our house, and he said, yeah, it's going to be a couple of grand to repair this and paint the front of the house again, so that you won't have a little small patch of paint, a different color than everything else. So I told that contractor, I said, hey, listen, until we figure out who's going to pay for this $2,000, because it's not going to be me, because I didn't put a hole inside of my house. I'm just going to withhold that portion of the $12,000 payment, right? No big deal, right? Anyway, make a long story short, the guy goes off the rails. He's like, hey, I'm going to put a lien on your house. I'm going to take you to small claims court. I'm going to file a criminal lawsuit against you and all this stuff, blah, blah, blah. And his office manager, a day or two ago, she sends me a text message and she goes hey, you're in real estate. If a house were to close, after the deal closed, would you go to them and renegotiate and say you want a bigger commission? It's no, of course I wouldn't do that. But here's what I would do is if I was in a real estate transaction and I broke something at a house, maybe I don't know, put a hole in the stucco or something like that, would I go and say oh, this stucco was already crappy, shitty stucco. It was really already falling apart. So the fact that I put a hole in it, well, that's just the stucco's fault, and I'm not going to be liable for it. And you've got to give me my full commission anyway. Would I do that? No, of course I would not do that. What I would do is I would take ownership of the problem, right? Whether or not I was to blame, if my client feels like I had something to do with it, you know what I would do? I would step up. And I would take care of the problem. I would not say, no, this is your problem, pay me the full amount and get someone else to pay for this. No, I wouldn't do that. And I certainly would then turn around and threaten my client with a criminal action, criminal lawsuit, and a small claims court, and file a lien on that property and all that stuff. I think that the guy's under a lot of pressure, right? Because he was going on and on about making payroll and all this, right? Going the reason why you're having problem making payroll is probably because you're a total fucking asshole, right? Who would want to work with you? Am I going to give you a good review on any review site? No. And in fact, speaking of review sites, this guy goes and puts a negative review on my Google My Business page, right? You've ever seen that? Google reviews all these businesses, kind of like Yelp, right? So he puts Seb Frey does not pay his contractors. It's well, that's fucking bullshit because I always pay my contractors. I make sure they get paid no matter what. I paid my contractors out of pocket many times in the past. It's just, I want to make sure my contractors are all taken care of because I rely on them to give good service to my clients. And so it's not only do I pay my contractors, but this has nothing to do with any kind of real estate business that we were engaged in, right? So here he's going defaming me for something having nothing to do with my actual real estate business whatsoever, and it's just funny. So I have all his emails. I think the guy's on drugs, or maybe it's just the pressure of not making payroll because he's such a total fucking asshole, nut job, whack freak. I don't know really what it is, but I think when it all is said and done, I'm gonna have to do something about it, right? Because especially if he does, I don't even know if he filed a lien or not. He didn't give me any paperwork. He just said he'd filed a lien and whatever. So anyway, so just being in this house and thinking of all the miserable, ruinous failures that there are in life, the poor people who used to live here, maybe they're related to that guy because it's just, that kind of vibe. All right, well, that is it for this episode of Frey TV. I just wanted to vent about that. So thanks so much for watching. And you know what? I'm going to have another episode up again before too long. Oh, but lest I forget, please go ahead and share this nasty, vitriolic episode of Frey TV with anybody you know who has been screwed over by a shifty, worthless contractor. That would be awesome. All right, thanks so much for watching. I'll have another episode up again before too long.